Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Laughter for All podcast with comedian Nazareth. I'm sorry about the delay. I was trying to learn English just to get my English so understood so the rest of you people can understand me. It's been wonderful. I am trying right now as we speak to share this. So if you want to share it to your friends on Facebook and or anywhere else you want to share it, that would really help us. And okay, what happened last week? This is always we start our show with what did to Oakland Airport, and the winds were over 50 miles an hour, and all the flights were canceled to out of Oakland. So I spent 10 hours stuck at Oakland Airport. Thank God they had the lounge, and I was at the lounge for 10 hours working on fixing my QuickBooks for the last year for Laughter for All. Can you imagine all these events we did last year with the stadium events and all the church events and the people and the staff and all this that we pay? I had to go one transaction one by one and actually correct them because QuickBooks took the word quick out of their books and put confusion books or whatever it is, but really it was a mess. But praise God, I spent about 6 hours working on that. So anyway, that was happened. And you know what, this is what I was thinking yesterday. People are nice, they're politically correct, they love you, they're kind, but when you're on the Titanic and there's only one boat left and there's room for only five people, people would kill you to take that seat. They don't care how politically correct they are. They just wanna, when the issue comes to your own, like, I want to get there. I want to get home. And I don't care. Pump everybody else and put me there. And because I wasn't that person, if I were on the Titanic, I probably will say, go ahead. I'll just deal with the cold water. I was standing waiting to talk to an agent, and the first person in line walks up to the agent, and if he only would look back and see how long the line is, we go, maybe I shouldn't share my entire life story with the agent and read the entire Bible to him and maybe tell him about everybody I met in my entire life. No, they don't care. They just keep going and going like, okay, you got your ticket, sir, just move over. And that's where the difficulty of Christianity comes in. That's when you say, I want to give my life to Christ. You have to die to yourself. Dying to yourself is those moments when you go, I want to kill this guy. But Jesus saying, no, you need to kill yourself. And it didn't happen last night. I just gave him a dirty look. Anyway, what else? Friday night, I did an event for Calvary Chapel, Pacific Coast. Had a great time, Valentine time. Happy Valentine, everybody. This weekend, I'm going to be on Friday night, date night at Calvary Chapel in Carlsbad, North Coast. It's already sold out, so I'm sorry. And then Saturday, I'm going to spend it with my wife. Just spend Valentine together, and that's my week. And right now, I want to introduce a friend of I don't know if he's a friend of mine. I love the guy. I've known this guy since he was born. Actually, he was like maybe two or three, and his dad is the one that led me to Christ. And his dad is a comedian, Yamo. You've heard the stories, and I've been friends with his dad. And then his dad was a single dad, so him and his brother Brandon decided they moved to the beach, and they lived in Balboa. Grew up on the beach, and I spent a lot of time maybe picking up Aaron. That's his name, Aaron Mitchell, from school, taking him home, making sure he jumps in the shower, make sure he gets his homework done, and now he's a young man, married, have two kids. One of the most creative people I know, other than my son John. So, So
first.
today I decided I'm going to have both of them on the podcast, and we're going to talk about the business of comedy, about creativity, about things like that. So, regardless of what field you're in, you can be homeless, you can be unemployed, you can be whatever, a physician, you can be a pastor. Just listen because you'll learn something. Because Aaron Mitchell is a great improv guy, and he worked with the best in the yeah, let me introduce him. We'll talk about that. Please welcome to the show, Aaron Mitchell. Hi, Aaron. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. One thing that was crazy is you started doing a podcast, which I'm like, why are you in my territory? But then the other one was like, oh, what do you want to talk about today? And I'm like, well, I don't know. One thing that's interesting for me, I like to get down to the brass tacks, and I like to sometimes the heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. And so I always find it very interesting. I think people would find it interesting if people knew more about you, who's talking about it. And so that's why I was like, well, let's talk about the business of comedy, kind of what you do, because people who are watching predominantly have seen you. You've been to their state, you've been to their church.
But let me take you before that. Because this is about reality. This show about being real. Before we do that, and I normally don't tell the guest what I'm going to talk about. So if they're uncomfortable with it, it's okay. But also an actor.
Yeah.
You're an actor, and you're a radio personality.
Yes.
And you do voiceover.
Voice actor.
So you
now.
stayed in that same field.
Yes.
That your dad was. Was it difficult growing up without a mom?
Well, it's normal for me because I don't know what it's like to have. I mean, granted, I'd see other people with moms and mothers and go, oh, that must be nice. Someone who's there, home, and cares for you and stuff like that. And, my dad, when he got divorced, I didn't realize this till later because now that I have kids, I kind of see the response. I see how much of a pain in the booty kids are. And sometimes, I'm here in Southern California and I'm thinking, this is great. I'm sleeping through the night now. No problems. And to recognize, I could see from my father's standpoint, yeah, it's difficult to have kids and to go through that divorce. And it wasn't, it was about drugs and alcohol and affairs for him to be like, I'm out and the safety of the kids. I mean, the fact that the father got the kids says something about the situation of the mother. So I would see other people have a mom, and a dad, and that must be nice, I guess. But for me, it's normal. I just had to.
But you grew up to be very normal. I mean, you're not the guy. You don't do drugs. You don't do alcohol. You're not messed up. You're a very normal person. You love your wife. You love your kids, and just and you're successful. So it did not did it impact you? Do you feel it hit you hard or no?
If it wasn't for going through that, I wouldn't be remotely, I don't think, in comedy or in acting. And which we'll talk about later, the idea of art and being a Christian is about self-expression.
Right, and that's difficult.
Oh, yeah, in this industry.
In this industry.
In any industry, really. And so I wouldn't really have that's interesting because, like, John's a funny guy.
Yes, but John, my son.
But what's hard is he can't really draw from pain. Like I remember as a little kid just crying and crying because my mom was either A, trying to kill me, or B, going. And I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't normal. I knew really dark situations. I've been in tough stuff. People talk about but people go, oh well, my mom's crazy. All of a sudden.
No, she's not.
Yeah, let me give you the definition of what a crazy person is. And it's sad towards the end of and then it was really interesting for me growing up as I got older, and a lot of people tried mentoring me, and they would say, "No, she's still your mom," But after I got saved, I had it very difficult where I said, God, well, this is not a normal situation.
No.
And it's toxic every time I get in there. So it'd be okay if it was kind of like, hands off and walk away. And yeah, was. And so I didn't really, and then, because I was 3 years younger than my brother had the option when he turned 13, 14, something like that. He had the ability of not going
I remember that.
there.
I
And I
remember
was
that.
basically lamb to the slaughter every other weekend to go there, or weeks or summers. And it was never, I don't remember a time where I was like, that was a fun weekend. I dodged knives. I dodged poisoning. I dodged
sad.
being dropped off in the middle of the ghetto and the gang, so it was a very dangerous situation for me to be there. So as an actor and to draw from pain, and especially when you write, that's the big thing, because I could write from a painful perspective.
Right.
But when I found the ability of, especially improvisation, really, I could express myself, and no one has any idea what I'm talking about. No idea.
Speaking of expressing yourself, being a Christian, and that's the hardest thing in the arts as a Christian, is like I can't go on stage and share everything about myself, how I feel, what hurts me, what I think is wrong with the Christian business, what's wrong with certain pastors. I can't say that.
That's why you have a podcast.
That's why I have a podcast. Thank you, John. But no, I'm serious. Like, you know what? Because the Christian audience does not want to hear about it. Or maybe they are moving into that direction right now.
Here's my perspective.
Yes.
If you want to get real on the whole situation, I always found, so when I was in Los Angeles after I got married, we went to now it's one of the very popular churches in Los Angeles. And it started out as a tiny little 15 people, and I remember going there.
Is that reality? Or?
Yeah. Reality LA.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I was going there, I started seeing people fake a lot of things and pretend it so they could get higher up and rank up higher. And, I'm this guy. And I feel like, and a lot of people feel that they're called to things. And then the Bible says the heart is deceitfully wicked. Did you read that verse? And so I feel like the business of Christianity says no. But you read Paul in the Bible. I mean, this guy gloated more that he was a failure to prove and to glorify God who is greater. And we kind of take on, well, I've done this, and you have to have a resume. In the small town in which I live right now, they were only looking at pastors that led big churches. And there's the whole politics in that. And I feel like, well, if you say anything negative, it makes me feel bad, or it makes me feel awkward around other people. But the reality is, sin is a messy business. And Christianity is the only one that says, bring it out in the open.
Bring it out, yeah.
And let's start healing from that. Everywhere else is like, no. Or, you say this, do this, wipe your hands of it, or give this over to such and such. Kind of dodging it rather than realizing that sin is a personal business and God's the one who dealt with that sin. So it's in a sense, when you're amongst brothers, right? Confess your sins to one another.
Right.
If you're struggling with things. And I think that's a poignant.
And that's why I have a Bible study for men at my house, and one of the things I'll tell the guys, I'm like, okay, we need to be open, we need to be real. Nothing goes out of this room, and they open up and they
like
share
what?
Share things.
For example?
Well, pornography. They share about their, unsatisfaction with their
Right. I
spouses
was just talking
and
because he
stuff.
said nothing leaves. this room.
How not to say things on podcasts, stuff like that. But I was reading this morning because I came home yesterday from Oakland at 12:30, and you stayed with us, and you're like a lazy bum. Got up at 9:30. I was up at 7 reading my Bible. And I think
No, I was up. I was doing intercessory prayer in here.
Yes, but not with God.
I woke up at 11.
How could you do intercessory in somebody else's house without their permission? What if I don't allow those spirits to enter my house? You should
Show me
have
the
asked
Bible.
before.
Show me the Bible.
Okay, so so I was reading this. And it says like we as Christians sometimes say, "I'm gonna start becoming better. I'm gonna be a better person. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stop lying. I'm gonna stop doing this." And God tells you you cannot do that. It's when you allow the Holy Spirit, by time in prayer and reading the Word, that's when the Holy Spirit takes over and start taking you from glory to glory. But you'll never become perfect. It's like looking into a mirror at your image. It's never perfect until Jesus comes. So I don't know why. So a lot of times at churches you walk in, everybody's trying to look their best. And it's like, so in the Christian comedy, there's so many bits that I'm like, oh, no, you can't do that. But it's so funny, and I can guarantee you 90% of the audience will relate, and it will help them. But you can't share it.
Yeah, because it's funny because when you talk about dressing nice, right? And I remember John Corson was talking, okay, gang, And he was like, you look at the guy, they're wearing their cloaks,
Yeah.
you see. And he was like, and they're like, look how they're dressing for what they're doing. It's no, when you have those type of cloaks, that's like poor man's clothes. You wipe your hands of your meal on there. And it's like, no, that's showing that you're broken. Like there's nothing you could do. And it's interesting, yeah, because you bring that up because I always wonder that as a Christian comedian, for the majority of comedy and stand-up comedy in general is, even the top comics, the number one comedians will tour the tiny clubs to work on their bits and material.
Right.
You can't really do that. What do? Go to like just tiny, dying churches and go, hey, 5 people?
Those are the worst to open up in.
Right, but how do you practice your material in the sense that you can't shape a joke? To craft a joke takes time and work.
It does. What I do, and this is how I do it. And number one, it starts with an idea. Like I'll be driving, I get on my phone, and it's like, I start saying something, and
then he tells us.
for example, like yesterday, there was a lady in the lounge just being very loud, or some guy is very loud on the phone, and I wanted so bad to go next to him and said, hey, come on, are you done with this stall? There's other people need to go to the bathroom too, just to make sure the other person hear him, and they go, ooh, he's in the bathroom talking to me. But it's just a thought, and then I go, wait, I can't do that in church. I can't do anything. It's toilet humor. It's a bad example, but so what I do is I start working on it and looking at it. Then when I try it, I would go. I mean, I don't care what church it is. Could be, unless it's a taping or I'm being auditioning for a pastor's conference, not auditioning, but doing something that I want work out of it. I would do it in between two very strong jokes. Like I know this joke for about like going to the doctor works. This joke about diet works. So I'll try it in between, and then of course I record my shows so I can hear what's I can hear the reaction, and then I'll cut and add. It's work.
Yeah, but and you're using it in a big platform because a lot of these comedians, they go tiny little clubs, they work on, they polish it, they get it ready for their big Netflix special or something like that, and so that's why, like for me, I'm curious, like, okay, you have to, as a professional comedian,
Mm-hmm.
you have to craft your jokes kind of almost in theory in front of a working audience that's there. That's a big audience. Because what's the biggest show you've done?
Biggest show I've done were 40,000 people at a big festival.
And so were you, it's 40,000 people. Do you your best material? Do you
Of
try
course.
new material?
No. You do your best. You never try new material because this is a fighting. You're going against a champion boxer. You don't try new stuff because if you don't hit hard, you're gonna get hard because the audience that many audience. When you have an audience, and it's funny for me as a comedian, which is different, and John would know that a lot of comedians do rooms like 300-400 people. My audience is 1,000 to 5,000 people. I do stadiums. I do big churches. Right. The last Laughter for All, we had 2,800, 3,000 at Crossroads, stuff like that. So my audience is big. When you have a big audience, they can hit back. If they laugh, they're boom, it's good. And you're always thinking, I gotta make sure the timing is right. I can't tell a joke yet because I have to wait for the people in the back to laugh and hear it, and it comes back to you. So there's a lot of other things involved. Last thing you want to do is to try a new bit in a big audience. In a smaller crowd, like if I do like 300 to 400 people, or this weekend I was in Santa Rosa, there were about 200 people. Yeah, I did some new stuff in between strong stuff. But some people like John, when he started, John is very funny, but John still thinks like, hey, I can go up and try a new bit up front. You can't do that. You cannot. Even the biggest comedians will not go up on stage and start.
That's because you're seasoned, you're a veteran. Uh-huh. When did you feel that transition took place from, I know all, because I know these, like, as an actor, certain things I know, I'm like, boy, I wish I knew that going into this. I wish I, don't read lines like this, especially when you do voiceover work. Where to enunciate my words, when to pause, slowing certain things down, how to present certain material a specific way. That takes time.
Right. Oh, yeah. To be good at something, it takes time. When did I notice I am a professional? When you start killing every single night. Killing means you get the audience to either scream out laughing the whole show or most of the show or give you a standing ovation. At one point, my 1 year, my goal was just to get a standing ovation. Just to get a standing ovation. And I went for that. But now, as a Christian comedian, and my desire is to share, the good news of Jesus afterwards, that takes away the standing
Which is
ovation. That's
interesting
something I have to give up.
because you're the only that I've seen Christian comedian that actually preaches the gospel.
Well, I don't preach the gospel.
Well, I mean, the gospel
I give the
presentation.
invitation, the gospel invitation at the end. I share my testimony, but it's always, you have to remember, if you watch me, I mean, I'll throw some truth about Jesus, then do comedy, share truth, and then at the end, I bring it together and boom, do the invitation.
Sure, but like I said, you're the only one who I've seen really do that, where it is a ministry.
It is. It's a lifestyle. I desire. I mean, when I left the clubs and I came to, thanks to your dad, he invited me to church and I accepted Christ. I was, what do you call it? I had that desire that I don't want just people to laugh because I can make you laugh.
Was this an immediate decision you made? Or
It was
over
an
time?
immediate decision. It was one of those, okay, I stopped. I said, I'm not going to do comedy. A week later, I feel the pastor said, hey, I want you to do comedy for our church. So one deacon prayed for me that night. And your dad performed in it too. And it was one of the best comedy nights I've had. It's like 400 people showed up uninvited to a church that normally has 100 people or 200 max. And I got a standing ovation that night. It was great. One old deacon with the Lord now prayed. He said, use this man for your glory. I still remember those words. So every time I go on stage, I go, I can make the audience laugh for an hour and a half, but then they can go home and get a text or an email or a mail from the IRS or somewhere. And that whole 2 hours of laughter I gave them is gone. But if I show them the source of joy, which is Jesus Christ, then that will make a difference in the long run for them. So I love my audience. When you're in my audience, I love you. I don't care if you hate my comedy, you hate Arabs, you hate Middle Easterns. I don't care. I love you as my audience, and I make sure. I've never had an audience member at the end of the show come to me and said, "Oh, you're not funny. I didn't like that. That was hard." And that's something I feel that there's a what do you call it? You know how God put a hedge of protection over you to where I have not had complaints. I've done 4,000 shows. Maybe one time one person complained about something. Oh, he goes, "Oh, last time you did this," and found out it wasn't me. It was a different comedian. I praise God. I mean, that's normally doesn't happen, but I have this kind of protection. Like whatever I say, it becomes acceptable to the audience.
So what's the worst show you've done? Where you're like, I would never, ever would like to relive that show.
Well, there was a show recently, and I did very well. I mean, it was a women's event.
So this is over 4,000 years. This is recently.
Recently, and I'll tell you what. It's a women's event, and literally from the minute I went on stage till about 44 minutes into the act, I was killing. Literally, the women were laughing so hard. And then I look at the lady who booked me, and normally I'm very good about my time. I never take anybody else's time. And I said, okay, one more minute, I'm going to do that. And she tells the worship team to go back on stage while I am finishing my last bit. And they started like practicing on their guitar and drum before like trying to tune him in. And I was so upset.
You called me that day.
I called John. I was
and
like,
he was fuming.
I was fuming. I normally never. I mean, I've had shows in the past where I bombed starting out. Because you're going to bomb. You have to bomb. John, last week, he did a show and he goes, Dad, I bombed for the first time. And for 15 minutes, I was laughing. I'm like, thank
That's
you,
funny.
Lord.
Like he called me, told me I laughed too.
Yeah, he's a professional. I said he's a It's his first time bombing on stage. Bombing means people didn't laugh. And we always, most of the time it is the audience fault. But as a comedian, to be better, you have to take the blame. You said, okay, it's the worst audience. What could I've done to make it better? So anyway, I was laughing at that. But I was so upset.
Can you explain to people why that bothered you?
Why it bothered me?
Yeah.
Because, okay, here you go. You're preparing the dinner for everybody. You got him eating. You spent so much time on the cake,
As far as the
on
jokes,
the
the
dessert,
humor, the tempo,
yes,
the timing.
and the tempo and the timing. And this is my closing bit is the funniest bit I have. I want to leave the audience with either thank you, oh I need Jesus, and boom, that he was so funny. And that was taken away. Someone stole something from you. And I go, listen, I did you a favor to do this show. I normally don't do shows with only 100 people in them. But I did you a favor. I did the show. I took much less money to do it. And this is what you do? And there was this one of that's like that control person. She was very controlling, like, okay, get on stage. And that killed me. If when I think about it right now, I get upset. Normally, I love my shows and I go to the end of the table at the end and just wait for people. And now what I tell people, I said, listen, if you are over 60 years of old or whatever, you haven't been hugged in a week, I want to give you a hug. Because I found out there's a lot of senior citizens that nobody touches, nobody hugs. And so I'll hug you guys at the end.
You wash your hands first.
I can.
Especially at the airport recently.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh man.
So a lot of people don't understand when you're. I think as a comedian, because being a little child as I was, and my mom being who she was, when I was a little kid, you used to take me and my dad. No babysitter, so I have to sit
in the audience with us, yeah.
No, the lobbies, the waiting lobbies, the
Yes.
cold waiting lobbies. Because we weren't 21, we couldn't go to some of these clubs, some of these places.
So you had to wait in the lobby for us.
How did it feel having two dads?
Oh,
It's not a two dads. I mean, I was married.
well, you were at the house all the time.
I was all the.
remember-
because of you guys.
The
Because of
testosterone
you
is
guys.
Probably,
I remember my dad, because your dad back in the day, he used to have kind of like the Jerry Kohler mullet, kind of like Howie Mandel back in the 90s
Yeah.
with the mustache and his curly little leg hairs. Where it looked like I could throw my Velcro wallet and stick at your leg. And then
That was the wrong legs.
And
you're
then
looking at.
there is my
legs
dad.
are
There is my
smooth.
dad,
I have
Japanese
no
man.
hair. My socks, I put hair on my socks so I can look like I have it.
so there was my dad, Asian man, and this Middle Eastern man. And my dad lived on the beach, like you
Right.
mentioned. And I remember you guys would come over all the time and say, we're going to hang out here and look for chicks. That was like the thing you used to say.
Yes.
Second, my kid, I'm going, boy, is this how it is? This is miserable. I remember thinking that as a little kid watching you guys. You guys would sit on that little corner.
What a miserable kid you were. To
I was
think
very
that
miserable,
way.
yeah.
We were just giving you the best example.
You guys would kick your legs up on the table, and I had to look at Quasimodo up there with your little
But
leg.
look how many chicks were attracted to that.
And then all of a sudden, you're gone. And my dad goes, oh,
I got married.
Now's getting married. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's met this girl last night. Or something
Last
like that.
night.
yeah, he met her in a
In
date and
Israel.
then gone.
In Israel, but
and
you're
I
like,
was
oh.
gone, yeah.
And you proposed tonight and getting married, and when you come back, he's going to be married. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I remember that
Uh-huh.
being weird. But I'm saying, but recognizing from a young age, and I knew everyone's jokes inside and out,
Yeah.
and I could say it. So it was never entertaining for me. That's why if I see
Thanks a lot.
stand-up comedy, because I'm a little kid, I don't understand half the jokes.
Right.
But I would know the stuff inside and out. And so that's why, like, now, when I watch stand-up comedy now, it's not like, oh, it's not funny. It's like, when you're growing up with it,
Yeah.
you're just kind of like, oh, okay,
you
that's
start
funny.
analyzing.
Yeah. That's like when I do voiceover, I did a thing called ADR in Hollywood. And that's where, in the movie, people are, like, there's a room of 6 people going, or when a guy is
To add the
snoring,
sound effect.
it's somebody else snoring. It's never the actual actor snoring or clapping or yelling or snapping. It's the background people doing that. It's a whole SAG union thing, and I did that for a while. And it's funny, now when I watch TV shows, I'll sit there and say, well, that was a terrible.
Yeah.
But you look at it from that perspective now, not from a I'm going
Right.
to watch perspective. And when you're doing stand-up comedy, and to kind of prove your point, that's like writing a song. This is when the moment of this song is really going to break out and really hit. And now here comes something else to just completely ruin it, because this is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to take you on this journey.
Yes, and it just ruined it for me, and I was so upset. I mean, bombing, for me, I did not bomb a lot because I went in, I was one of those aggressive, they call me in comedy the machine gun of comedy. That's when the clubs, they call Nazareth is a machine gun. Comedians will do a shot here, a joke here, a bunch. I was like 1, 2, 3. I was getting 9 to 12 laughs a minute, which was unheard of. But I was boom, 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 boom. And that kind of
Is this
slowed
before
down.
you were saved?
Before I was saved. And in the beginning, because after I got saved, I had to be, I had to develop my act. Well, I couldn't go to hell gigs anymore and bars. I didn't want to go there. So I started going to, Chuck Colson, through God, took me to prisons. So I was doing my new material. When you're starting out, and John can tell you that, you always want to do new stuff every show. Why? Because you don't have enough. I have 2-3 hours. I don't have to worry. But someone who's starting out like John, you have to try new material every show.
And you got to craft. Just getting 5 minutes of material crafting is a lot of work.
That's
it's
a lot of
polishing
work.
a rock with your hands.
I got it in 1 week, so.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So you have to do
That's why I
that.
bombed.
So I was going to prisons, and when death row inmates, someone who's going to do 250 years in
You can't
prison,
get a bad review.
no, they can't. They can't. You know what? They're not gonna fake it. They're not gonna laugh just because
Yeah,
you say,
absolutely.
"And Jesus loves you," because that's a problem with Christian comedy. Sometimes a lot of people call themselves comedians, Christian comedians, and now it's more than ever. It's like everybody's a comedian. Everybody's putting comedian in front of their act. I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. You'll not gain my respect unless you've been doing it at least 10 years. And I don't care how much credit, if you're on Netflix, or it doesn't matter. If haven't been doing it, you haven't been through the hell gigs, haven't been through the grinding of being a comedian, then you want to be a comedian, then actor, then that's good for you. If that's the route you want to go to get to where you want, that's fine. But if you're a comedian, like on my grave, I want him to write comedian Nazareth, not actor, not anything else, comedian. Why? Because this is what I want to do. And it's hard. So it's harder to do that, to write the material and to work on it and to make it good and then to try it, then to come up with a new show and do all that. So
Because the thing is, I mean, you're doing it for the audiences too, because you're going into someone else's congregation to their sheep, and they're allowing you to talk for 90 minutes about whatever you're going to say.
and their hope is at the end of the day, because people gonna laugh, they know they hired me, people gonna laugh, that no one would go to them and say, "Did you hear what he said, and what do you think of that?" You don't want that.
So what's hard about going to talking about things that are hard, though?
You can't,
Why?
because the Christian audience are not there yet.
Are they programmed that way?
They would hear it in a club, but they would not hear it from you. That's what gets me. A lot of people in my audience at a church or at a Christian event, they go to clubs and they watch comedians and they watch Netflix and Comedy Central. But I don't know why at the church you have to kind of be really open and,
Because art is really, really expressing yourself and how you really feel. And I know that. Like I do the afternoon talk of things, and my job is to be, hey guys, and positive today. And I just want to, if you're going through a hard time today, and maybe this, I don't talk like that, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, for example,
But you do. You sound like, I
that's
listen
kind
to
of
you, and that's
ideal.
exactly how you sound.
Hey everybody, come on down. I
Yeah.
own a candy store on 5th. So no, no, but like usually I wrestle with myself a lot of the time, knowing they kind of want a more, But I try to talk about the real things, and I get a lot of people that will call in when I talk about real issues.
They do. They call.
Yeah.
And they want to talk about
The
it.
rule of
That's a
thumb, if
different
someone calls
medium.
a radio station, they're crazy. If anyone bakes something and gives it to you at your radio station, they're crazy. It's kind of like a rule of thumb.
Okay, let me stay on this as John, and this is to you. Okay, you're a comedian.
Well, you don't respect him because it's not been 10 years yet.
Yeah, you're my son, and when you go on stage and you try different stuff, you are more real because of your age. I think this is a new generation of comedians, and you don't want to be labeled as a Christian comedian. You just want to
I've
be.
told an audience that I'm a virgin. I've told them that.
That has nothing to do with Christian comedy.
Yeah,
but
thanks.
personal.
I'm-
I'm
write
so
that down.
proud. Your
Real.
mom will really be so happy you're a virgin. I love that. But
That's for you people watching. Just
But if you want to learn,
Do you have any
if you have curly hair legs, then you can go to Balboa Beach and put your feet on with your friend and show your curly hair leg and say, "Hey, where's the chicks?" Then you might get someone. No, I'm just kidding. That was trying to do a callback. It didn't work. It worked.
when
but
my dad writes new jokes, I'm the first person who hears it.
no, you don't. You're not.
You come out and you're like,
Oh,
guys, I wrote
sometimes
a new one.
I stopped doing that because every news bit I do, he's like, "Nah,
and then I use it on stage.
You use it?
Is that why you
No, you
bombed
don't.
last?
That's why. No, but John, you are more. There's topics you talk about that you go. If I were in the audience, you would not do it, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. See, that's
Because
how
I talk about you.
Yeah.
In what sense? In what sense?
I did a joke about how he plays video games and how he's really bad at video games. And,
I play
talked
Fortnite.
about-
I
Why
admit it.
Fortnite? I mean, that's a whole other.
I'll
that's a whole
tell you
other
why
show.
Fortnite. Do you want to really know why?
Fortnite.
Why?
We call it Fartnite in the
No,
world.
it's Fortnite. I'll tell you why I play Fortnite. Because I've always had, I used to be very aggressive with my career. I would call anybody. There was one time Irvin Arthur, who was the biggest manager in Hollywood. And he was, I knew if this man watched me, he will let me do it. So I would just call him and I told his assistant, I said, I need to talk to him. She goes, no. I said, I will come and sit in your office all day, every day until I talk to him. And she put him on the phone. I mean, I was that kind of aggressive whenever I knew opportunity. And then later, as you get comfortable, you get married, you have kids, I started getting less and less, more fearful of taking the courage to to attempt to do something. And Fortnite is what forces me while I'm playing it to be aggressive and not be afraid to die. And just go
But it
and
sounds
try
like you
to
died.
shoot.
How many victories have you won? Victory royales.
Zero.
I came in second.
So zero.
He has never won.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's a
I'll
part
So
of
you're
tell
not
you
that
why.
aggressive.
I'll tell you why. Because I pray for that last guy. The joy that last
Yeah, I'm
person
sure.
gonna have. Who am I to steal that from that person who's gonna win the
If
game?
I'm ever around and I'm like telling him what to do, Dad, right there, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. He when he loses, he goes, "That was your fault." Like you literally.
You know what?
You
Can you
distracted
imagine you're
me.
really trying to
Yeah.
focus? Okay, you're a pilot of an airplane. Okay, and then
Other
someone's next
people's
to me
lives
going,
are at risk.
"There's a cloud! There's a cloud! There's a cloud!" Well, I see the cloud. Okay, I'm okay. I learned. I'm experienced.
My
to
12-year-old sister got a win 2 weeks ago. Like
Your 5-year-old.
12-year-old
12-year-old sister. Listen, I played last week. I didn't play this week. Last week, I played 5 times. In 5 of those times, out of 100 people, I came in second twice, third once, and fourth once.
But Aaron, he gets kills, and it's insane how he does it. He just keeps shooting
It's a-
randomly, and the person's
it's
standing
a
there.
Lord.
Middle Eastern. It's just kind of.
It's a
You're
Lord.
right.
Yeah, if you can blow up yourself in Fortnite, I'll win the whole game. That's funny.
It's a
But-
stress relief. Battle royales for me is the adrenaline you get
Man.
when it's between you and that other person.
We went
Well,
to
here's
video
a joke I
games.
can't do when John is in the audience. A joke, I said, I said
Sharon.
I said my son just graduated from
Oh.
college. He's 21, looking for a job. He's home playing games, and I told him, listen, son, remember when you were little, I told you how wonderful you are, how great, you're awesome, everything you do, you're one. I believe in you. He goes, yeah. I go, I was lying to you. I don't mean it.
This is what
And
Fortnite,
that gets a huge
Can
applause.
I say something? This is what Fortnite does to me. He tells me, John, if you keep working at something, you will get better, and then you will succeed. Then I watch him play Fortnite and how long he plays, and nothing.
But admit it,
Same-
as a dad,
same level.
As a dad, admit it. Do you have that confidence in your artistic ability as a director, as a comedian, and to do whatever you want? How did you get that?
From you.
Have I ever told you you're stupid, you're bad, you're terrible?
No.
You never.
Has he told
ever.
other people?
No, I never.
Not except
Oh,
you,
I
but-
bragged. But I bragged. I still brag about John. His Mallory, his the Mallory, and now Habib is coming out.
I made a movie about. Oh, I showed you it.
Yeah, I liked Habib.
Habib is a story about me, and
Yeah.
I never. My
'Cause you
name is
used
not
to
even
do-
on the credit.
You used to do stand-up comedy wearing the gas station uniform.
Yes,
That was your bit.
Yes, that was my thing,
And
I
it was
used,
called Habib.
and I was called Habib. And then in the beginning, this is funny. In the beginning, when I started doing comedy, I would have the entire audience go.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
it's a celebration. I get, and that was my signature.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
then September 11 happened, and they showed on TV, on CNN, people in some parts of the Middle East celebrating this horrible thing and going, and that ended it. That ended it for me. And that's so yeah, there was the act changed because of the political scene. The material changed because of the political correctness and all that happens. So
Would you say there's a champion for Christian comedy? Like here's hard to explain. Right now in political culture, you can't say anything.
Right.
They're looking to shame you. It's you can believe whatever you want to believe, but it's got to be with what we believe. And if we don't, we'll make sure that you lose your job over it.
Kevin Hart.
And so, well, I mean, it's a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when Dave Chappelle,
Yes, he's
did
a champion.
Did
He's a
his special Sticks and Stones, you know,
That was
that
huge.
knocked the door down for other comedians to say, I could do material again.
Well, it's a matter of time. I share this on stage, and I take it to a point that is so stupid, and people can say, I said, listen, you know what? I think I live in California, and we have to politically correct, but really, this discrimination thing really hurt me. It's really bad. Discrimination against animals. And I'm being sarcastic. Like a lamb is cute, a sheep is not. That's age discrimination. A cow is cute, a bull is not. That's sex discrimination. A yellow-brown cat is cute, a black cat is bad luck. Racial discrimination. A furry cat is cute, a hairless cat is not. I rest my case and I point to my head. No hair. That's what it is. So I kind of being silly, and then talk about now how fish have rights and how ZipRecruiter and Petco join forces, so dogs are now working, and it's being sarcastic. But even if Chappelle did not come out, I mean, you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast and other. I think all comedians were getting to a point where like we're fed up
Yep.
enough,
Let's
and
do
it would
this,
have
yeah.
exploded. If
They're
it
li-
wasn't Chappelle, it would have someone else.
Somebody needs to champion.
And not just comedians. There's a lot of Americans right now are sick and tired of this whole political correctness. I lived in Kuwait, in the Middle East, in a Muslim country, and there's something called the religion police, and they do it in Saudi Arabia. And those people, if you say anything wrong against Islam or anything,
Right.
they arrest you, and they will put you in prison. No one will hear you. Now in America, we have a group of thugs, I call them, that they think because they're in social media and they have a lot of followers, they think if you say something, here goes freedom of religion out of America, they go after you, and they go after your career, and they go after people who support you. And that's like the religious police, and worse.
They look up your old tweets. And
They
everything.
do. They try to ruin you. You know what? This is not the America I came to in 1984 because I wanted to be free. Because I got sick and tired of living in the Middle East and not being able to be free and do whatever and say whatever I want. You come here, and now in the last few years, you get those people, and I truly believe the American people will need to shut these people off to stop them from doing that, because that's not America. That's not freedom of speech.
Do you find it hard to get gigs because you're Middle Eastern?
No. Well, yes, to a degree, and that's why in the beginning I've always told a lot, especially in the Christian market. Yes, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It was because unless they think you're Jewish, then they know.
Nobody believes you're a Christian and an Arab. Like it's
Yes,
it's
like-
some anomaly or some random thing that.
Yeah, it's like if
Like,
people
I
think I'm Palestinian, if people go, you're a Palestinian, I mean, now it's normal, it's okay. But in the beginning, like when I started Christian comedy in 1993, 94, 95, if I told them I'm a Palestinian Christian, I would never get the booking. Oh, you're from Israel, we love you. You're Jewish, we love you. And I go, and then after 5 minutes of my act, they know I'm not Jewish, and then they follow, oh, we love you. I mean, it was just the first reaction.
Because I imagine this political climate, you're really good to book right now because of that.
Yes.
Because you're kind of, it's easy. You could actually kind of speak for what's going on in Christianity and spiritually as well.
It is. I mean, we as Christians in America, we need to learn how to love everybody, not just a loved one. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't expect in my lifetime Christians gonna love their enemies. I don't think it's gonna happen, because you got to determine. We know who's our enemies, and we can't love them. But at least love those who are your fellow brothers and sisters in the faith, who are in the Middle East, they are in Africa, in India and stuff. Going to a mission trip for a week does not do it.
Do you think it helps that you were born in Israel?
Oh,
When
yeah.
they hear that, they're like,
Oh yeah, it helped me a lot being booked in the Christian market. Unfortunately, I say that because if I'm a Christian comedian, I'm a fellow Christian, then you gotta love me for regardless of who where I was born. I could not control that.
Your movie Habib that's coming out is about the son of a Palestinian, right? And he runs the gas station. and the father's against him doing comedy.
Yeah.
For you, I mean, how many stand-up comedians were there in Kuwait?
None.
So when you come here, what was the spark for you to go, or the inspiration to be like, I want to do that?
Well, the spark was a marathon I ran in 1990. And
Oh, the legs, that was funny. And you're like, I could sell this.
yes, I can sell my legs. Thank you. I was actually I don't know why I chose to run a marathon. I was not a Christian yet. I used to smoke Marlboro Reds.
I remember.
And
I remember you used to smoke.
yes, and I had to every 2 miles. I said I could only run 2 miles because I had to smoke a cigarette. So I don't know why I signed up to go to the LA Marathon, and so I said I'll sign up. Maybe in 5-10 years I'll finish it. I'll do 2 miles this year, 3 miles next year. And then I did, and then they said the night before they're having a carbo load, and I said, okay, I'll come in.
What?
A carbo load where they feed you a lot of
Spaghetti.
pasta,
Carbohydrates.
carbohydrates.
Okay.
Carbo load, they
Yeah.
call it. You go to the Civic Center in LA, and they have all these pastas and bread, and you eat it. So the next morning you have all that extra energy. Well, I went, and they had round tables, and next to me
Is
was
that why like the people run in Spain from the bulls?
yes, from the
They have solids.
the
Okay.
carbo load.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
I know,
agreeing
like,
with him. I
soccer-
didn't know what he was talking
I
about
don't either, but I have to agree.
But we have to
In
agree
Spain,
with
I
him.
want to
they
be
do
in
that.
Hollywood.
I hope you don't take that as a confidence that was funny. It wasn't.
No,
no.
I don't think it was a joke, was it?
No, it wasn't a joke.
No,
No,
it's
you're
a
right.
carbo.
I think
The
so. They
tomato
can run.
thing?
They eat. Wait, what are
Yeah.
you saying?
They,
You're saying
they,
they-
to get all they have so much energy.
I think my
They-
story is so exciting, and I was building for it.
We
all
got
I
it.
keep thinking
You
of the
just made
legs
me
of you
drop.
running in a marathon. That's
Leave
all.
my legs alone right now. I'll
Finish
show them
the
to you
story.
later. Finish the story. So anyway, so we're sitting in round table, and who's sitting at my table? Muhammad Ali, the boxer. He was in the early stages of whatever he's going through, and
Went through.
and he shook. Yeah, went through, and he shook my hand and he squeezed it, and he goes, "You're gonna finish it, are you?" And I don't know why I said. I said, "Yes, sir, I will." And he goes, "You are?" I go, "Yes." And then he let go, and the whole night I'm thinking, I promised Muhammad Ali, I'm gonna finish the.
And if you
marathon."
don't come through those promises,
Yeah, I'm gonna feel bad.
No,
because
you're not gonna feel
I'm
a lot
Middle
more than
Eastern. If
that.
I give you my word, I give you my word. I'm not gonna back off. So anyway, the next morning I started looking
What
at
was it like shaking Muhammad Ali's hand?
He was
Did it-
strong.
did it
He
keep
was
going?
He was strong. No, he's just
You're like, okay.
That was early.
No, that
Oh,
was,
he said he's going through.
It was 1990.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. We don't make fun
You
of
can
people.
cut that one out.
But anyway, he squeezed my arm. So anyway, so the next day I'm looking at what the other people are doing. They're rubbing the, what do you call it, like
chafing.
Bengay on their thighs,
Yeah.
so the muscles heat up and they don't get
You
cramps.
couldn't though, because the hair
It-
would stop it
Yeah.
from.
And the hair, not the hair.
You got to put fire retardant between yours.
No, it's hard because I had a cigarette on the other hand, and I was smoking my last cigarette, and then I started running. I did 2 miles, and people go, keep going. When you run with other people, it's encouraging it to 5 miles. Come on, my lungs are giving up. My side is going. You're done. And then I actually finished it. I finished the marathon. And I could not, sometimes we think we have limits in what we can accomplish, what we can do physically and mentally and spiritually. So I got to the finish. I said, what do I want to do in life that if I don't get paid for it, I'll do it to the best of my ability? And it was making people laugh. I love to see people laugh. I love to make people laugh.
This is after you just ran a marathon?
After I ran a marathon.
Like
the
immediately after?
The next day, it was on a Sunday night, I was at the, it's called the LA Cabaret in Encino, California. I signed up at 7 p.m. for open mic night. There were 300 people in the audience. All these wonderful comedians were performing. But when my spot came, it was midnight. There were like 7 or 9 drunks. And 1 or 2 of them fell off their chairs laughing.
And you
For
wrote
doing
those
two hours.
jokes.
Those
before.
jokes were jokes I used to do. They gave me
Do
3
you
minutes.
remember any of them?
Oh yeah, I'm like because I used to do like I've always been funny. Like when people say something, oh you're from the Middle East, right? You guys have camels. I go, oh we have a 2-story camel, a 2-story tent with a 2-camel garage, and I would go and get my sister, take my sister's Barbie hostage and GI Joe to get him back and stuff like that. Just little jokes. They go, oh man, you work for 7-Eleven? I go, yeah. And yesterday the earthquake happened and the Slurpee machine fell and hit me on the head. I'm glad I had my turban on. and people laughed in just one-on-one. So I put all these together, and I didn't even get to 3 minutes. And I was they said, when the red light comes, you better get off stage or we'll shut the mic. And I'm waiting for that light to come in. Please, please, I'm done. But people were laughing hard.
What was that like for you? Most people that go up first, they bomb.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, no. This is after 4 hours of show. Like they've already had
right. But this is your first time you're going on.
First time ever in my life to go in front of an audience and be. I was nervous.
Was someone mentoring you, like telling
nobody,
you timing? And
nobody.
So you went up there and just
blind face.
Didn't know.
I ran a
what stand-up
marathon. I'm going
comedy.
to sign up tomorrow and do.
This is what I said. This is what I want to do in life. If I never get paid for it, this is what I want to do in life. So I went up and I did. The next day I went to the Comedy Store. And I signed up, and I think I didn't go on. Then I went to the Improv in Santa Monica.
And who's in this scene? Because this is in the what 80s?
This
90s.
is 90.
Okay, 90.
Okay, let me give you an example. Me and Sherry Shepard from The View.
Yeah.
We were in the same fair. It's called New Faces at the Improv. At the time, one time I was doing the what do you call it? The Melrose Improv, and this Irvin Arthur was supposed, this biggest guy. I kept calling him until he answered. His secretary said, "This guy's crazy. You want to talk?" I said, "Hey, listen, I want you to see my work. I'm very good." And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna be at the Melrose Improv tonight. I'm gonna watch some comedians. Tell them to put you on the show."
How was your accent during this new beginning? Because when did you move to the United States?
Well, I moved in 1984. Actually, my accent was a lot better than it is now because after I married your mom, John, that's when my accent became harder because I started connecting more with Arabic
again.
people more.
But even because you lived here with your mom.
I lived in
and dad.
Ohio. I
Right.
lived in Ohio, and then I moved here. And when my mom and dad moved here, I said, "You're in America now. You don't speak Arabic." I would not speak Arabic to my parents. I speak English. That's why how my mom now.
She speaks good
My
English.
grandma speaks. His grandma speaks very good English because I would not talk to them in Arabic at all.
I remember
would respond.
to talk to your grandma.
She
when I
used to
was-
babysit.
Yeah,
you.
she used to babysit me all the
Rose.
time. I knew your grandfather really well too.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I never met him.
I know.
yeah. And
He died.
Yeah, he had.
He was really like he was kind of more like my grandfather than.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're
he was
completely
very
right.
nice, very loving,
Yamo's my
and he had
grandpa.
curly
Oh,
hair in his legs, like me. No, I'm just
Never
kidding.
showed me the legs.
But anyway, so what happened is I signed up. So that night I called Bud Freeman's son, and I said, "Listen, Irvin Arthur wants me to be on the showcase." And he goes, "I don't know. Okay, we'll put you on the showcase." So anyway,
This is the second time you're performing.
that after a few times.
So a
Because I
couple
don't
months.
want. I mean, I've already been doing some.
Did you learn
I
English?
think an hour.
Did you learn English in?
Mostly in the U.S. I learned English in school, but I
Wow,
did not
okay.
speak it.
So you're
well.
like 6 years into America with your accent.
Yeah.
And everything.
So I go on right before I go on stage. They go, "Oh, this Bud Freeman's son." He said, "Oh, Nazareth, we have to pump you because we have a guy named Adam Sandler, and they need to show him." And Adam Sandler went on stage instead of me.
A Jewish man taking a Arab man's spot.
Yeah, that's like the
Who's the
story of our
president this
life.
time?
Taking the land, taking the
Taking your
stage time.
spots.
But anyway, so so that's what happened. That's why I'm doing comedy.
What was it like getting laughs like that the
Oh.
first time going up?
Oh, there's no other feeling. I
Because
mean,
people compare it to a drug.
at the time, I used to do cocaine, and the high for cocaine is amazing. I mean, for few hours, but the down, you hate life for it. If you've done cocaine or crack, it's getting off it the next morning. I mean, I remember I would put the sheets over my head at night. I squeeze. I would put the pillow because my teeth are growing. I'm like, if I have a knife, I would have killed myself. I was so hating life. And then you get over it, and then the next day you want to go and try it, or the next weekend you want to do it again. So, but the high, there's no other high. I don't care what kind of drug, than seeing an audience laugh and approve of what you're doing.
I'm just starting on it. Like
And
that-
yeah,
it's like
it's
my
addictive.
dad's been like doing drugs for like 30 years, and I'm just starting this new drug, and like
Start wearing more shorts when you go on stage.
like I just bombed, which you can like equate to like a bad high, and I already want to do it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't do stand-up comedy. I thought that's what I was
Oh,
going
you
to do.
can. I think
No.
You could.
I'll tell you why.
You're an improv.
Hold on. Improv. I'll tell you the difference. Okay. I thought I was going to do stand-up comedy, and because my dad did it, you did it. I was being pulled everywhere to go because my mom was at home on drugs or cracked out or whatever she was doing, and so my dad, it was not a safe place for me. I thought, and I could make people laugh. I remember the first time I got a laugh was I was kindergarten, and somebody said something, and my dad used to roll his eyes all the time. He used to go like that. I did that. School is in a table, and all the kids laughed because somebody said something, and I rolled my eyes. I was like, boy, that to me was like, wow, that was good.
Yeah.
So I always thought I was going to do stand-up comedy because fall into the footsteps, and I'm around the scene, and I know what was going on. But then I found improv. And the reason for comedy was you make a set. That is your set. You are going pretty much through that. And it doesn't matter how funny, if you have 10 jokes, it doesn't matter how funny the other 9 are. If that first one bombs, you gotta learn that. You gotta know how to work an audience. That's what's being young and going
there's
out
a
there.
technique. Comedy is not just going up on
And
stage
saying jokes.
You learn so much. The more it's funny, but every time you're on stage, you go on stage, you think, and you have enough to do it right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the more you do it, the more I haven't bombed in years. Why? Because there's techniques you can do to get the audience.
Right.
I mean,
and you learn that. And that only comes from experience, not by anyone telling you. It just comes from
It's
learning.
like acting out a monologue up there.
Yeah.
'Cause you have
Well,
to
the
act
thing
it
is,
out and, like,
because you want to be a
recite.
filmmaker, and I
Right.
tell you, one thing that helped me as an actor was watching. I love bad movies, bad B
Mm-hmm.
movies, because I know what not to do,
right.
and it kind of translated a lot of things. When I thought I was going to do stand-up comedy, and I thought that because I'm a funny guy, but when I saw improv and I saw Who's Line on television, I was like, these people are making everything up on the spot, and to commit to something like that and stay to it, and if it bombs, I think I can handle that.
Right.
Improv gave me the ability to go, I can just kind of go up there and do whatever I want to do. Later, it become an art form because art is self-expression. Stand-up comedy is self-expression,
Right.
and that's why I do feel like in comedy, it's hard for me to laugh at a lot of Christian comedy because they hold back a lot from the truth.
Yes.
It's more smoke and mirrors and fluff and whoa, that's kind of buy some candy from my store. So
On Fifth.
right, yeah, on 5th Street. So I've learned. When I do long form, that's a really way for me to express myself. And when I have an audience, it comes to the point now where I tune out the audience. I just know that they're laughing. I know that that's working, and I know how to hold an audience in improv. And to a lot of comedians, improv is a nightmare.
Yes, to
Oh,
me it
yeah.
is.
Oh, of
I mean,
course.
if I'm on stage, I want to get the last laugh. I want to get the
Yeah.
punchline.
I can't be like the thing with improv is you don't always get that like satisfaction. You don't get that laugh. Like,
No.
you have
Oh,
to
I
set
do.
it up for a.
I
It's like
do.
an alley oop. You set it up. But
Yeah.
what if you don't? You're saying that if you bomb, like it bothers you.
But the
On
thing is,
comedy.
I don't know the last time I bombed. Oh no, I could tell you last time I bombed an improv.
But like when you say something and nobody laughs because
Yeah.
you're setting up the next person.
The thing is, in improv, you can move on to the next thing, because improv there's a difference between short form improv and long form improv. Short improv on 5th Street. Short form improv is like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Games. And what are you doing? And long form is a one-act play that you and a group of people are completely improvising off of one word to inspire an entire one-act play. And so
As a stand-up, we don't even have that one word. We have to go up and start from nothing.
you have to make it, but you base your act off of a theme, though, usually.
Yes. That's
Right?
Yeah.
Your
And
persona.
improv, that's kind of in theory what it is. And
Yeah.
so I have the ability to, on an audience, doing
Right.
long form, something doesn't work, I just move to the next thing. Because
Okay.
the audience is on your side when you're an improviser, because they're there, they know you're making it up on the spot, they're on your
Right.
side.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's in a
you're right.
comedy, they're going there, you're going to make me laugh.
Yeah, like you had all this time to write.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And they appreciate
Exactly.
more the creativity. That's why, every show I take time to talk to the audience, just like ad lib, and they appreciate that more because they know to me it's fun because I'm going on a limb. I don't know what I'm gonna say, and I know it's gonna be funny because it worked every time. I have that muscle in my head that's fast. But But some people go, well, I know these guys came in with their act and they're gonna do it,
Right.
so it's funny. But you guys improv, when you do something out of the blues, that's good. But let me bring this together. Okay, for someone who's watching and listening right now and going, this has nothing to do with me. It has a lot to do with you. I'll tell you why. Because we're all created with creativity. We have different abilities and talents that we can do, and I notice a lot of Christians, a lot of people are holding back and just like, I don't want to try this, I don't want to do this thing, I don't want to attempt this new ministry or something. And you're sitting here with three people that did that. We decided, hey, this is what can I do in life that if I never get paid for it, I will still do it to the best of my ability. And what it is go and try it. Take a chance at it. Do your best at it, and be creative. Don't say I'm not creative, because God can use every different. I mean, I've seen, and John knows that, I've seen hundreds of thousands of people come to Christ through comedy. I've seen hundreds of thousands. Why? Because I've attempted and took the chance. And God and people, I used to think God will never use comedy for his glory, but he does. God would use whatever talent you have to use for the glory. So the last question is like, and that's why sometimes when I promote myself to church and pastor, like, what's different about you, Naz? Why should we hire you and not someone else? And I truly believe there's an element of healing that comes when I get so many people say, hey, I'm playing your videos at cancer centers. We're playing your stuff at cancer thing. Some lady said, oh, I take your videos to people who have cancer. And the reason they do that, there's some kind of, I don't know why, but there's some kind of healing that comes in after my show, because I try to pick the material, and that goes back to the question, can you do everything in your heart? In the Christian comedy, you can't. Why? Because my goal at the end of my show, and I don't know about other comedians, but I want to bring healing to the audience. I know laughter is healing, but there's some kind of inspirational stuff that I bring into the comedy. At the end of the show, people feel so good about themselves. They laugh so hard. I mean, I had a lady, she was saying her daughter was dying, and she chose the last thing she wanted to see is my comedy. And stuff like this. I was like, why, Lord? And God said, it's not you. I'm using your comedy. All you had to do is by faith, you took the step and attempted. And that's what I want to tell the audience as we close today. Take the step and attempt what you think God gifted you with, and that will really make the difference. Erin Mitchell, thank you so much for being on the show with us. I know you have to go back to Bend, Oregon. Is there anything you want the audience? If you're a radio station manager and you listen to this, this is one of the best radio personalities. If you're in voiceover and you want to hire someone for your voiceover project,
if you own a candy store specifically
on
on
Fifth Street, then you can.
Hey,
See, that's a whole
Laffy Taffy on
Hey,
Fifth.
that's a whole improv thing. Like, we
And-
literally no context for this. He just brought it up, and we're
Yes,
using
and John is looking for
a job.
a job as a director or a production
Not yet, as an assistant.
prod-
I need to learn before I
assistant
start.
director.
Sometimes you learn by just
No,
So-
not an assistant director. Assistant to a director.
Assistant to a director, because I don't want people to say, hey, I work at 7-Eleven, I want an assistant. You don't want
Yes.
that. You got to be specific with that.
Exactly.
So anyway, next week on the podcast, this is going to be interesting. I am inviting my 12-year-old daughter, Tally, into
running
the
out of
episode.
guests.
Nobody has done that before on
Did
a
you like
podcast.
bribe her to play more time on video game times? If she
Yes, I will bribe her. But you know what? She doesn't know the questions. And the questions will be something like this. What most influenced you? What do you think of America? What do you think of the president? What do you think? Where are you hearing your stuff? Where are you getting? What do you think of certain question about morality? I want parents and grandparents and people who listen to see how our young kids are being impacted, and what format is being used to impact them. And it's really, I think it will be interesting.
Yeah.
It could be disastrous. I pray.
Don't ask her anything personal.
No,
she
I-
will give the most honest answer, and we'll get in trouble.
Would you like to be on the show?
No.
Because okay, just me and her. So anyway, tune in. Please call in if you have questions to a 12-year-old You know, maybe we'll do. I'm smart. I'm not smarter than a 12-year-old, but we'll do it at sixth grade.
It
She's a
might be
sixth
his
grader.
last podcast.
It will be my could be my last podcast, but anyway, I love you guys. Keep listening, keep laughing. Go to right now. We have a new website called laughterforallpodcast.com, laughterforallpodcast.com, and you can watch or listen to all the podcasts we had in the past, and encourage your people, your friends and your people to subscribe to our podcast. You know what? We do this for free. We don't ask for any money. There's no money in it yet, and we're not worried about that. We just want you people to, if you were encouraged, if you learned something, if you were entertained, would you please, and I know Christians sometimes they don't do that, please share it with your friends. Ask them to subscribe. I'm comedian Nazareth. Until next time, keep laughing because it's good for your face. Your muscles will start looking so wrinkly on your face if you don't laugh. Love you guys. Have a great day. Happy Valentine.
Fifth Street.